Welcome to the Infernal Brotherhood of the Scruffy-looking Nerf Herders. This is a live streaming video podcast by Star Wars fans for Star Wars fans, and today we're going to be discussing the novel Han Solo at Star's End.
Oh, man.
It's funny because when you're like, hey, do you want to talk about this? I'm like, fuck yeah, I love that trilogy. Not realizing I've never read this Han Solo trilogy. So needless to say, it was a pleasant surprise getting into it.
I don't know what it is about these old school pulp stories, but for some reason, I'm enjoying this, first of all, Splinter of Mind's Eye, and then now this one, infinitely more than anything else I've read in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Maybe for the last 2 decades?
Wow. Because you haven't gone into like Fate of the Jedi, dude. That shit, man. I mean,
I did a little bit into it. I didn't go deep.
You either go in balls deep and blow in 5 seconds, or you didn't actually do it.
Yeah, I didn't finish it, so.
But yeah, it's oh god, and actually that was like 15 fucking years ago. Holy shit.
It was a while ago, man.
Yeah.
I remember I was doing audiobooks. I mean, it was in the single 2000s last time I was doing it.
Yeah, and the last one, I mean, I think that was like probably that came out in like 2010, I think.
Oh wow.
Or 2012. Yeah, holy shit. Okay, so let's not talk about that, but yeah, no, it's crazy. Like I have up until the last book in the first phase of the High Republic, I've stayed pretty consistent with Star Wars books, you know, whether they're good, whether they're bad. Speaking of which, I probably could talk offline about this, but I'm gonna talk about it right now because we're right here. The tie-in novel between Fallen Order and Survivor, check it out. It's pretty good.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just started it a couple days ago, and it's not bad.
All right.
But yeah, like I really haven't been that excited about anything. I mean, with from a certain point of view, that shit's fun. I mean, it's nothing. It's not canonical, but it gives you just little goofy glimpses into side characters. Yeah. So it's fun for that. But yeah, other than that, I really think the last book that I thoroughly enjoyed, like in its entirety, was the Aftermath novels.
Yeah.
It's the Force Awakens.
That's true. To be fair. Like, I loved the Last Shot with Lando and Han. I loved the Aftermath trilogy. There's just so much to love about the Aftermath trilogy. You know, there's that Leia novel where she was in the Senate, and
that was okay.
What it was called, and it was all right.
It was just Leia, Princess of Alderaan, if I remember correctly.
Well, there's that was one. There's like a Leia trilogy, but there was just one where she was it was just about her Senate, and then everyone discovered that she was like Vader's daughter, and it like almost got her kicked out of the Senate and everything.
Oh yeah, that
I can't remember what it's called though.
Yeah, I don't remember what that, but that was like because that one was after Return, right?
Yeah, it was
like when they're rebuilding.
It was released right after the first film of the sequel trilogy was put out.
Yeah, okay. I remember what you're talking about now. Yeah.
Anyway, but like there's a handful of good Star Wars novels, but for some reason going back to this other like this really like the original Star Wars novels, it feels more like that sort of Flash Gordon pulp fiction, you know, that Star Wars was meant to be when it originally was released. And there's something pure about it because it's not continuing a story. It's just like, here is a tale about a character you saw in a film, because again, this is the second novel released after Star Wars, before it was A New Hope. It was called, you know, the Adventures of Luke Skywalker or something like that originally. And it was just, you know, we're just going to tell you a story. If it ends up being a trilogy, which it did end up being, great. But at this point, this is the second novel ever released, and we're just going to try to tell a story and see if it lands. And it was really fun. Like, I had a little slow going for me, like getting into it. But then from that, I don't know, maybe first quarter to the end, I was sold. I was totally done.
Yeah, that was the nice thing is, it did kind of start a little slow, and I almost wonder if whether it started slow or if it's just the fact that we're so like we have 40 years of this character to draw on.
Right.
Whereas with this, it's literally after the first movie.
Yeah.
So it's like, how much of this is our biased opinion on the character and how much of it is actually how it was written? Because that is one thing that I feel like you don't get in Star Wars novels anymore. Like there's just a feeling that you get from 1976 or 77 to pretty much like the late 2000s. Like it feels a certain way. And this absolutely did. Like this is one of those ones that honestly, if you didn't tell me when this was released, I wouldn't be able to place it. I would have figured, oh, okay, this is probably mid to late 80s, maybe early 90s. But no, this is right after the fucking first movie.
Yeah, this was released in 1979. Like September 12th. It was written by Brian Daley. I mean, this is really just one of those stories where Han Solo hasn't really been defined other than we saw him in that first film. He was this scoundrel that Obi-Wan Kenobi hired to take them to Alderaan, and they ended up, going on this sort of misadventure to the Death Star, getting out of the Death Star and everything. And this is 2 years, set 2 years before that even happened. And so this is a Han Solo who is not even involved at all in the Rebel Alliance. He's all about self-preservation, and it's like the purest form. It's almost as if what they were trying to do was Solo a Star Wars story, of telling a story of Han Solo in his purest form, without dealing with the Empire, without dealing with anything else. Just this is him living in a galaxy. And I really, really liked it because it kept sort of flashing back to what Han was involved in originally, the Empire, how he got to where he is, different jobs that he's done. It suggested how he connected with Chewbacca in a sort of third person way, but it wasn't directly him just stating, this is me and how I got. He was sort of saying it as if it was someone else. And I just really like that he keeps everything really close to the vest, like he's playing a Hand of Sabacc. He's just doing everything like, I'm not going to tell you everything about me. I'll give you glimpses, but I'm not going to show you my cards. I'm not going to show you my tells or anything. And that's the Han Solo that I want. I always had a hard time getting to know Han Solo. Like I don't know if it was when Leia was telling him in Return of the Jedi, Luke is my brother, and that stupid fucking look on Harrison Ford's face, it just made me think Han Solo's a fucking idiot. Like I couldn't rationalize Han Solo being a good character because he just looked so fucking dumb. Even though he had some great lines, and I loved his romance, and I loved him being sort of the older guy to Luke Skywalker, teaching him the ropes and stuff, he always seemed like a fucking idiot to me. He was just really lucky.
Yeah.
This felt weirdly different. Like it felt like he was a fully realized character, and we were sort of picking up in his sort of midlife experiences. And I really appreciated that about the character.
Yeah.
Did you have a hard time connecting with him originally, or was it always like in?
Nope. I was always going to grow up to be either him or Vader.
Oh shit.
So yeah,
Other.
Yeah, one or the other. You can see how a young child could pick both.
Yeah.
No, I always just like, that guy's cool as fuck. Like him and Lando Calrissian. It's like those are who, as a young male, you want to be when you grow up. Like they understand everything.
Yeah.
They just ooze charisma. Like, yeah, obviously you want to be that guy. So no, I always bought into the character. I always thought he was cool. Like it was one of those things where it seemed like he's smarter than he lets on.
Yeah.
So how much of it is a front? How much of it is actually him just being an idiot? You never really know. At least I never did. So yeah, I bought in immediately.
Yeah, I like that they straddled that fence in this too. Like he's just, it presented Han Solo as a character that relies 98% on luck. And like 2% on planning.
Yeah.
And that traditionally, you know, sort of pays off with seeing him in the different films. But to see him in a novel with that same approach and to have it just work out every single time, even when it doesn't work out, it kind of works out. He's like the luckiest motherfucker in the galaxy. Like, there's no two ways about it.
Well, I mean, you look at, you know, the role-playing games, even some of the video games, well, a good amount of the video games, like that is an actual skill point, is smuggler's luck. Like, that is literally all it can be, is like there is a god of luck who is smiling on you, and he's always got that motherfucker on his side.
And it's really paid off in that scene where he's talking to Obi-Wan Kenobi when Luke Skywalker's doing the training with the droid. And, you know, just saying how, you know, a blaster by his side is infinitely better, and he trusts luck. And Obi-Wan's like, you know, there is no luck in my experience or whatever. And it's just like, the galaxy is so big, and this sounds stupid me saying it out loud. The galaxy is so big that other people are going to have wildly different interpretations about their experience therein, right? So Han Solo has existed solely on reaction, planning, failure, luck getting him out of that failure, and then planning again, that he's never really had to worry about anything else. So of course his own personal experience is just based on being able to get out of tricky situations every single time. And like reading this and then reflecting on everything else I know about the character, it almost, especially going into EU, I'm like, he should not be alive. Like,
no, absolutely not. Like, the fact that he lives and Chewbacca dies is just still to this day, it fucks with my head. I mean, of course, Chewbacca went out like a badass. Like, if there was a way to kill that guy, that's how you kill that guy.
Yeah, spoiler alert, people.
But yeah, like between him, Chewbacca, and R2-D2, it's like, how the fuck did any of them make it that far?
Yeah, Han Solo is just dope as fuck. Like, this novel made me reappreciate the character infinitely more than I ever did earlier. And I learned to love the character. It's just like this, going back to like the very, very beginning, to know that this is how he's always been. He's one of those, like he comes into the scene fully actualized. Luke Skywalker goes on a journey to realize who he is. Leia, she's kind of
Leia's
always
a fully
there.
actual.
Yeah,
she's from the get-go. She knows who the fuck she is and what she wants in life, and that is that. There's no straying.
Is it just Luke that goes on a journey? Does everyone else? Fuck. Okay.
I mean, okay, so I won't say that it's only Luke, because Han does grow as a character. Leia doesn't. Like, Leia, she is the one constant that's just like, well, oh, my fucking home and everything blew up. Well, let's go fuck these guys in the ass. Oh, I'm a giant space slug slave. Well, I'm gonna choke this bitch out. Like, no, she's just, she is like the epitome of a fully self-actualized human being at 19. And that's mind-boggling.
Yeah, I guess it's just Luke who really just sort of transcend, like, we watch his journey progress. I mean, we saw Han connect with the rebellion because of interpersonal relationships and you know, love that was budgeting and growing with Leia. And so it felt like he changed, but when we read this novel, he's always kind of been like that. And that's what I love about the character. He refuses to accept that he cares about anyone else, because self-preservation is number one. And I can tip my hat to that. I definitely appreciate it.
Self-preservation is the highest law.
Yeah. And so, like, I get it, but he clearly doesn't, if he believes it, he doesn't follow it, because he still continues to go out on a limb for other people situationally, and, you know, put himself in horrible situations that he's just vying on his luck, which always pans out, to get him out of. And I could see that becoming a tired trope at some point, but it's not. Like, even after 40 years, I'm in.
Yeah, it is definitely something that should, on paper, it seems like you get sick of it real fucking fast, but no, you just eat that shit up every single time.
And it's like, even like, we have Han Solo, then we have Indiana Jones. Both rely on the exact same, like, sort of skills, and they both end up perfectly okay. So it would seem like we'd get tired of it, but we don't. Why do you think that we just
keep asking for more? Because we want to be him.
Okay.
We want to believe that exists
Yeah,
in
that could
real
be
life.
a real thing. Could get out of it.
And I mean, as somebody who's pretty much lived off of luck and pure happenstance, like it's that I fully understand, like wanting this character's journey to be, the same.
So the big bad guy of this novel, which I really appreciated, wasn't the Empire, is called the Corporate Sector Authority, which is basically just a corrupt bureaucracy in a specific part of the galaxy. Sort of had tendrils going out. And I like that they didn't just sort of narrow it down. They could have easily just like tied into the Empire, because that's the only film that was released at this point as the original Star Wars. And so why not have that be the bad guy? But they decided to sort of break out of that and think, well, if there's one bureaucracy that's sort of at a governing body, there has to be corporate entities that are as corrupt. And then they have to have their own security force and everything like that in order to maintain sort of semblance of power.
Yeah.
I really loved that they did it. Like Splinter of the Mind's Eye pulled right into the Empire. And I didn't mind it because it was weird and quirky as a novel. I think if this would have used the Empire, it would have felt a little bit, I don't know, strange. I mean, like, when I think of Han Solo, I do think of the sort of criminal underworld. I don't necessarily think of the Empire.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, even in Solo, it's like that. Like, he is so far removed from the Empire until he enlists that, it would just make sense that he's like that.
So do you think they
set
set that... I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. You're good.
Do you think that they set that up because they sort of give us the illusion of flashback to him being in the Empire? And so they're like, look, that was his past. That was his deep past. He is a different place right now, and he's avoiding that at all costs. So these are the troubling sort of entities that he has to deal with at this point, being a smuggler. Like, did they intentionally avoid the Empire, you think?
I mean, I would if it was me, because I mean, it's so much more interesting to have him so far removed from Galaxy Center that it would just, I think it works better that way, that they did a different entity.
It also makes the galaxy feel bigger,
Definitely, because like, it's the Galactic Empire. This is the ruling body that covers the entire galaxy. But there's these small spaces in the side, like way the fuck out there. Like, man, whatever. Take care of yourselves.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's how fucking massive it is, and it feels like that's how it should be.
For sure. So we're introduced originally in this story to him actually completing a job.
Yeah.
Which for Han Solo to complete a job that's a big deal. Like, this motherfucker can't finish anything he starts. If you're just going by the movies, he's never finished anything except for get Luke Skywalker to fucking, the Rebel Alliance. But even that wasn't
because he was supposed to take him to Alderaan.
Yeah.
So, like, even his one W was not a full W.
Yeah. It's just so crazy to think that he could actually successfully, and of course he has to be able to, but it's just, we've never seen it before. So it was really nice to see that. And then, like, the way that he finished his job, it just gives us a great indication about who Han Solo is. He didn't like his employer, and so he does this side mission to go pick up a crazy creature in order to pay his employer off.
Oh my god, that was so fucking
with this
great.
Insane little, like, gobbly creature. In my head, I was just imagining like a piranha. So as soon as the dude opens the chest to get his money, the piranha jumps out and attacks him, like bites him literally on the fucking nose.
Yeah, so goddamn goofy, but so much like, that's fucking Han Solo. Well, I love that. Like, I was giggling like an idiot because he's like, hey, here's your payment. I'm going to go fuck off over here now. Psych! It fucking takes off. And the credit chip that has all the money that he owes homeboy, as well as some interest, it's tied to this fucking creature that's eating his boss. So fucking funny.
And I love that he did the math. He's like, he's not going to come after us because he got his fucking money so he can pay his bad guys. It's just me slapping my dick in his face. That's all it is.
That is exactly what it was.
It's the best goddamn way. So you're just like, Han Solo is a badass. Like, from go.
Absolutely.
It's so great. And then he actually gets caught up with the corporate authority where they they do impound his ship. And they're like,
Yeah,
look,
they straight up impound his ship.
I'd never considered, and I've played West End Games version of the Star Wars role-playing game. I played the Saga system that was much later than that. I'd never once considered that modifications to your personal ship could be considered illegal and thus impounded by third-party authorities. And it makes logical sense. I just never thought about it
it's
before.
something that happens in other EU books too. So
it's amazing that was the hook that got him to reconnect with Jessa, and I don't know. It's just it completely recontextualized the galaxy for me in that one little thing, because even though it may have happened in other places, it was the first time from my experience, and it just kind of blew my mind.
Well, technically speaking, this is the first time period.
Right. Well, yeah, right. I love that as soon as he finally goes somewhere in order to get repairs, he goes to an old friend. He's looking for Doc. Doc is the man. Doc can fix anything. He can do whatever. And he ends up finding his girl, his daughter, and they just have this sort of, a Han Solo back and forth with another woman. Like, this dude can never do wrong. I don't understand. Is he intentionally written as just like the most suave human in the galaxy? Or is it just
that's a funny thing though, because he's not.
Yeah.
Like, if anybody was in the Star Wars galaxy, it's Lando Calrissian.
Oh yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Han is just one of those people that's so flawed that it's endearing. And I think that's what it is.
He's
because
like a lost puppy.
Exactly. He's like a lost puppy that the second you relax around him, he's gonna fucking bite you and run away. And that's how Jessa acts too in the book.
Yeah.
What's that? Or hump your leg. Yeah. What? Or both. Who knows? I mean, fuck.
One than
whatever. Yeah. But that's exactly how she acts. She's like, "Oh, you're fucked back. Oh, you need something from me? Well, fuck you. You can always run away." And he's like, "Hey," and she's like, "Okay, you can help me find my dad."
I just imagine him doing the Fawn's thumbs.
Hey. Yeah. Right.
Hey. She's like, "Okay." I mean, Jessa did really seem like she, at least the way I interpreted it, like she was into him, but she just didn't want to give in to him. And so she was like, "Look, I'll fix your
because
shit."
they had already had previous relations, and he fucking up and bounced because it's Han Solo, and that's what he does.
Yeah, ladies, don't expect Han Solo to be there in the morning when you wake up. He's gonna get it in. You're gonna enjoy it, but he's not gonna make you breakfast. He's not gonna happen.
No.
Sorry.
No.
I love that. Like, it's always, it's like Raiders of the Lost Ark. He goes to Marion to ask about Marion's father. He goes to Jessa to ask Jessa about her father. And it's just like that sort of story beat. I can't help but think that maybe Lucas, when he was writing Raiders of the Lost Ark, was reflecting on this story a little too much. Possibly. Because it is very reminiscent.
If it works, don't fuck with it, right?
I'm not going to complain. I think Raiders of the Lost Ark is the single-handedly best action film ever made, in my opinion. It's an amazing film.
No argument here.
But like this was great. So he goes to Jess. He's asking for repairs. She's like, "Yeah, I can do repairs for you, no problem. If you want these extra repairs, maybe you can help me out and go take care of this." And so she gets him to look for her father without actively asking him to look for her father, which is a little bit weird because he did genuinely seem to like her father, or at least have some former relationship therein. But all throughout this novel, Han Solo is adamant about saying, "I'm in this for me. I'm not going to put my neck out. I choose life every time. I'm not going to go for a cause that leads in, maybe fame, but I'll be dead, so I can't enjoy it. So I need to get paid. I need to be alive. Fuck your story." Like, that's
right.
Every single situation.
The only two exceptions are over the Falcon and Chewbacca.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Anything else? And like that, fuck. I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but him like having to get knocked the fuck out to not just run after Corsac not Corsac, the corporate authority to get Chewbacca back. Like, he knows, I've got a single blaster. These motherfuckers are an army. I'm getting my friend. I'm getting out of there because that's what I can do. And it ends up taking what was his name, Raxus or whatever, to like bop him on the head and knock his ass out.
Yeah, they totally fucked him up. Recon or whatever.
Recon, there we go.
There's like this massive black dude who's just like amiable. He's like super nice dude, but he's working for a greater cause of trying to find people's lost family who are supposedly taken by the corporate sector authority, and they're trying to find out where these people are being held. Sort of chaos ensues, and it gets. First of all, we got some great droids in this. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, that scene where Chewbacca is just like in a rage attacking these people, and Chewbacca is using the droids' control of this massive harvester to like do his like Wookiee attack fucking on this weird corporate authority group. And he's doing it selflessly, trying to get everyone else a chance to get away. And Han Solo's like, fuck that, dude. Get the fuck over here. Let's get out of here. Let's bounce. Like, choose life like me, man. And he will do anything to save Chewbacca. And that's what I love so much about Han Solo is as much as he's all self-interested and he doesn't care about anyone else, even though he really does, Chewbacca is the exception. And to your point, to what you mentioned, the Falcon too, like he will do anything for that guy. And it hints.
See, I argue that that's not self-interest. Like, I mean, that's
right. Yeah.
Like a proper friendship, a partnership, like anything like that, you're not you without that person in your life. So like, I've never had a hard time coming to terms with him risking his ass every single time for Chewbacca. Yeah. Like other books with other people that he hardly knows, whatever, I'll forgive it. But with Chewbacca, no, it's like like my fucking wife's getting beat down by the police. I'm going to run up. I'm going to get shot. I'm going to get killed, but I'm probably going to try to save her.
I'm probably going to try to save her.
Well, okay, not probably try to save her. I'm going to try to probably save her. Yeah. Words were in the wrong order.
Yeah. No, I mean, I believe it. He genuinely loves Chewbacca, and I love that he loves Chewbacca. I want to know, and I'm hoping that in the other two novels, they go more into detail about how in canon, in earlier canon, they had connected, because it only suggested it in this one. It was enough to sort of whet the appetite and get you thinking, oh, wow, he really, they have a connection that sort of transcends. Chewbacca was the only person that stood by him in this weird moment when he was sort of being, ousted from the Empire, or when they ripped his rank off of his uniform and stuff. So I want to know more. It set up this idea that there is a relationship between them that transcends anything that we're being presented with thus far, and I love that. There's just one of those, it's this sounds stupid. It's like the Golden Girls. They're these old ladies that have each other's. This is the worst example ever. They have each other's backs no matter what, even though they don't really like each other at times. But in Han Solo and Chewbacca's case, they always see eye to eye, even when Chewbacca doesn't necessarily agree with Han Solo.
They fucking fight.
But he always has his back.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
Through everything.
Like when you are that close with somebody, you will fight with that motherfucker fairly regularly, but you'll always be there for them.
Yeah. It's so great. I love their dynamic and their relationship, and just having zero information about it, because they don't ever give us any context in Star Wars, the original film, to this giving us just a hint of context. It makes me love them even more. Like their dynamic is so fucking great. And like it always showed us Chewbacca working on the Falcon, but it never presented it in the way that they did in this novel, where Chewbacca has like ownership. He feels like, because he's the mechanic for the Falcon. It's never really presented it that way before that I can remember.
No, definitely not in the movies.
Yeah, and so it was like a totally different way of seeing Chewbacca, and the fact that he was singing. I never thought of Chewbacca as like singing. I mean, it makes sense, like maybe like a Tarzan thing, or like a Mongolian throat singing or whatever. But this now makes me want to hear Wookiees sing. Like, I need to know.
Right.
He's like, I don't even know. I need to hear it. I have to fucking know this.
Yeah, I would buy that album.
It's got to be Mongolian throat singing, right? Like, what do you think it would sound like?
I mean, yeah, that would
It's
make
like
sense.
yodeling and
I
throat
mean, that'd be
singing
pretty dope.
together, maybe? I don't know.
Huh?
Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about these droids because there's,
Motherfucking droids.
I mean, it's really a droid with
no,
two
no,
droids in it.
it's two droids. Because Blue Max, I mean, he's still, he's a fully enclosed
Yeah.
being, and then of course you got Bullocks, which I mean,
Bollocks.
great fucking name for a droid, like
Okay, bollocks.
really on the nose because it's such an antiquated droid.
So great.
But I fucking love him, especially the last part of the book where he's going up against the battle droid.
Yeah.
And he's doing like the shit that we humans do of trying to rationalize stuff and make it make sense. And we do it through superstition, through ritual, whatever. But, you know, with droids, they're literal beings. It's all mathematics, science, shit like that. Like everything. Oh my God. I was really stoned when I was trying to take notes and I couldn't make it work then. I don't think I'll make it work now. But I fucking loved that we got a first-person perspective on how a droid thinks in this book. And it was so beautiful, him trying to be like, oh, well, these are the odds. I mean, if I say it out loud, I won't die because I'm still around. Therefore, that will keep working. And it's like, that's just beautiful.
I thought these two droids were amazing, and I loved how it presented. Because in Splinter's Mind's Eye, we had R2D2 and C3PO.
Mm-hmm.
In this, it's just, of course, we're not going to have them. They're off doing their own thing, their own adventure.
Mm-hmm.
So to have Bullocks and Blue Max, and Han Solo doesn't like droids at all, like almost Din Djarin level, almost. And he's just like, I don't fucking want anything to do with these guys. And then he like risks his neck to save them because he learns to love them so much. I love the dynamic between Han Solo and every character he comes across because it always ends up where he is just like, okay, I'll save you. God damn it. fucking like complaining the whole time.
He's the begrudging hero. Always and forever.
So Chewbacca gets taken. They figure out where to go in order to try to rescue them. They don't exactly know where on the planet, but they also have, like, Reckon has a spy amongst their crew in order to save these people, and they don't know who the spy is. The whole time, I'm like, it's obviously the Cub kid. It has to be the Cub kid. Yeah, I thought for sure because they led so forward with it. I'm like, they're not going to make us think. They're just going to tell us.
Fucking funny because I knew it was Torn.
Ah, man.
Or Torn. I
didn't.
I was like, it's got to be that guy. He sounds like a douchebag. It's got to be him. And with the Cub, it just makes too much sense that it would be him because he was already in corporate sector authority detainment center. He was already fucking wiped. He doesn't talk anymore now. So it's like it would just make too much sense that he's the spy.
Yeah.
So it's like it can't be that fucking obvious.
I really thought they were going to go simple with it, and I'm really glad they didn't.
Yeah, because that would have that honestly, like, even though, you know, if we're looking at this book from the perspective of release, where again we don't have 40 years worth of Han Solo lore and stuff, even with that, I feel like it would be so out of character for Han Solo to pop a child.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, that would have been. I would have loved to hear his inner monologue when he's rationalizing it, but I don't think he would do it. Like he would probably end up just detaining him and giving him over to some other authority. Yeah,
that's probably how it would have played out. But I fucking love Torm's death. Like I want to see that shit in live action. Because the way they described it, I mean, it's so simple and it's so short, but just it made me think of hyperspace in a different way.
Yeah.
Because we do have, like in certain novels, even newer novels, you know, being jettisoned out of hyperspace. And it's just sort of like, you know, you jump off of a boat that's speeding. You just kind of hit the water, pop, 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 and you're there. Mm-hmm. But the way they described him just being like his body just floating out in hyperspace, and then just it's like that's it. It's like, oh my god, I want to see that.
Yeah. It reminds me of how it's been described about if you fell into a black hole after you pass the event horizon, you just spaghettify.
Yeah.
That's just in my head how I imagined his death going. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, this is amazing. Like, how ballsy does he have? He just hit that fucking airlock and just see him go, whoop. Mm-hmm. It's like
so fucking good.
I wish we could see this in live action. It would be like a horror film. Like I love that so much. It's so cool. I mean, so much of this novel, and arguably Splinter of the Mind's Eye before it, is really sci-fi horror. It's like Alien, you know, it's like they're in this desperate situation trying to survive. All of their plans are just meeting insane sort of obstacles, and they can't seem to get ahead until the very end when they finally make it out barely. Mm-hmm. This is no different because as soon as they get to the planet, I can't remember.
Well, I mean, it's a little different because I don't remember Ripley ever like dressing up in costume and being a performer. Although I would have loved to have seen her dress up and
that
dance
was
like
so
What's Your Bucket?
ridiculous.
Hey, you know what? That's their fucking in, and kudos to them for taking it.
Yeah.
Like just that one random transmission while they're just sitting out there on a fucking asteroid. Like, oh, they need entertainers? Fuck it, I got a bunch of shit on board. Let's make costumes and go fuck shit up.
Just the most creative way of trying to get in you know, trying to get onto the planet. Mm-hmm. I loved it so much. It reminded me of like Briscoe County Jr. I don't know if anyone's ever seen that series with Bruce Campbell. It's like a Western. It was on Fox years and years and years ago. There's actually a lot of episodes on it. I've seen them all. I own it. I love it, but it's ridiculous. And they do like ridiculous stunts like this, where they can't figure out how to get on the planet, and then they just get this transmission about this entertainer, booking agent saying, "Hey, I'm sorry, our guys are indisposed. We can't get anyone. We'll get a substitute group to you as soon as we can." And Han's like, "That's it. We're the entertainers."
Yep.
They cobble together some stories and some outfits and stuff, and they get down to Planetside, and they bluff their way into the fucking situation. They realize that the leader of this agent, Vice President Herkin, really is just looking for people to do like a battle robot royale. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's all he wants.
To fight his Mark X executioner droid. And the only droid they have that is actually like visually a droid is Bullocks, which is... Mm-hmm. An old school like loader droid or something like that. It's like a ridiculous. There's no way this is a fighting droid at all. And like they give him like this great nickname of Annihilator.
Yeah, like the most asinine fucking name for him.
So fucking great. And I love the moment when so the bodyguard of President Herkin is Ul-Rak-Shan, which is like this lizard creature or whatever.
Yeah, the way I saw him was sort of like the original idea of what Lucas had for Chewbacca.
Ooh, okay.
That's kind of what I was seeing in my head with that guy.
All right. I'll buy that for $1. But there's a point where Han Solo comes clean about who he is, and he's like, "Oh, I've heard of you." And I was just like, yeah! Like, that's so dope. It reminded me of the very beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy 1 when he's like, "I'm Star-Lord." And dude's like, "Who?" He's like, "Come on." I was just like, okay, that dude's a douche. If it was Han Solo and he said Han Solo, you'd be like, "Oh, I've heard of you." He's like, "Yeah, you have." Like, goddamn right you have. I'm Han fucking Solo, motherfucker. Yeah. Oh, it was so great. I just loved it so much. But the whole setup was they're going to do this, like, droid fight. And based around it, they're like, "Oh, well, the droid's got to, you got to fix something on him. And so let's have some other entertainment first." And so the cat lady's doing like some weird ritual cat dance or so. I don't fucking know.
Well, and before that, we got the cub doing acrobatics and shit. And that was the funny part, was because that cub wanted nothing to do with anybody at all. But the second Han Solo brought up performing, that cub lost his fucking mind. And was like, "Yeah, acrobats!" And it's just jumping all over the fucking place. Yeah. And super excited. It was funny as shit.
It reminded me of that line from Oh fuck me.
I don't remember that one.
The '70s show where they're just a bunch of stoners. It's a film.
Dazed and Confused.
Dazed and Confused. When he's like, "I want to dance." It just made me think of that. That when the cub was just like fucking doing his little fucking flippity floops and shit. That's a word, flippity floop.
No, it
was great. I loved every fucking second of it. The whole, it was just so ridiculous. It reminded me of The Fifth Element. It's just like some sort of like stupid, ridiculous, like Chris Tucker type shit. You just like fucking making fun of shit. Like I just assumed it was like silly, and everyone in it was just sort of like, I'll watch it and enjoy it, but I'm not buying this for a second. And Solo is taking a blue, what was it, Blue Max to like sort of hack in to find out where all the prisoners were being held. And it was just this great moment where you're like, there's no way they're going to get out of this. They're like, they're not going to, they don't have time. And fucking Bullocks is going to die. I don't want Bullocks to die. I like Bullocks now.
The thing, even before we get to that, like the prison, that's the shit that was really straight up like horror sci-fi. Because they had plans to the building, because when they were on the one planet where Chewbacca got captured, that's the whole reason why they're there, is they were there with Blue Max to break into their shit to find out where they were keeping the prisoners. That's how they found out where. But with all the schematics and shit, there was no holding cell. So it's like they have to have the prisoners here. There's no other way. And then once they're actually there, they find out that they're just all in like tubes, like in basically carbonite freezing without it being carbonite freezing, because this is pre-Empire.
Yeah.
And that was like, fuck, like they literally only take these people out just long enough to torture them and put them back into stasis. It's so fucked.
Like the way they described it is like they're stealing their life.
And
it was just so poignant of a description, because you're just like, yeah, they're fucked. Their only existence, the only conscious thoughts are, I'm being tortured, and then it shuts off. And then
kind of reminds me of the end of Revan. Like, did you ever read that one?
I don't think so.
Fuck.
I'm surprised if I haven't. No, I don't think I have.
You gotta read Revan.
Okay.
That's perfection.
Right,
you would know if you read Revan.
Right. I mean, I played the Old Republic games, and I know he's a big part of that. Oh, I think I have read that, where he goes against the Emperor, right?
Basically.
All right, I'm not sure.
Kinda.
I'm not sure. Anyway, hey Chris, how you doing? So, so ultimately they realize that this is not a prison compound. They're doing this illegally, and it is totally the President Herkin, the corporate vice president, that is sort of doing this on his own. And I just love this idea of this corporate entity has such corruption, like levels of corruption in it, which is so analogous to our own real world existence that it's 100% believable. And there's no chance of us being like, oh, I can't believe that. No, yeah, of course, yes.
Yeah.
I believe it. They're on a different planet. No one's looking. Yeah, he's going to do whatever the fuck he wants. Like, of course. I mean, as far as he's concerned, he's solving problems, which is what I love so much about Star Wars bad guys, is it's, from a certain point of view, they're doing it from their perspective. They're not really bad guys. Even when they're really evil, they're like, no, like even the Emperor, I'm trying to give order to the fucking galaxy. Like, yes, I'm doing it for my own self-interest and my own power, but if I'm in control, everyone will prosper under my rule. And if they don't, then it's their problem. I'll punish them. So there's always this twisted rationale, which is reality. You know, Hitler thought he was doing a good thing. He wasn't thinking he was like being the most evil person alive, even though he clearly was, objectionably. And I just love seeing that. So,
well, and that's the thing. Like, that's how you make a real bad guy. Is like, if they don't believe what they're doing is right, then it's a cartoon character.
Yeah, just Snidely Whiplash.
Yep, 100%.
Tying her to the railroad tracks. It's great.
Yeah.
So once they realize they're all being held in these stasis pods or whatever they're called, and these sort of frozen tubes or whatever, it's starting to make me think of like frozen sperm, and it's really gross.
They get out and it's all like,
poor Chewbacca. It's just chunky fur.
Oh my god, can you imagine how much of a bitch that'd be to get out? Especially because this is EU era. Wookiees don't shower. It is
Yeah.
against their religion,
Oh,
basically.
dude.
Oh man, he'd be
Just
so fucking gross.
dreads, clumpy,
Oh,
fucking disgusting
it just
bleachy
smells
dreads.
like bleach, dirt, regret.
The worst fucking dorm room ever.
Yeah.
So while the it's so gross.
And moving on.
While the president, yeah, I need to move on. This is getting gross. While the president is like demanding, okay, enough of this fucking stalling. You guys are just fucking with me. I want to see the droid fight. Let's get this fucking droid fight on. Han Solo is desperately trying to find the goddamn where the tubes are. He ends up deciding to like. Now this is where I'm a little bit fuzzy. I finished this earlier this week, and for some reason I can't remember this part. I can't remember what he blows up. Like
The place.
but there was like a
So okay, so what happens?
reactor
Like you're
or
talking
something.
about how the place actually goes
Yeah.
up, right?
Yeah.
All right. So what happens is Bullocks and the murder droid are fighting, and Vice Prex, whatever the fuck his name is, I already forgot it. You know, I finished it last night, so of course I don't remember his name anymore. He knows that Bullocks isn't a fucking fighting droid, so he's just fucking with him, basically playing cat and mouse with him. Gives him a blast shield and all that stuff, and is controlling the murder bot to only go oh so far. And then what happens is, as soon as Han Solo gets there, Blue Max is like, you know, in I can't remember if it's in.
Oh yeah, I can help him. Yeah.
But he screams what to do. So that's when Bullocks drops, gets underneath the his treads, and just starts ripping out fucking wires. So the murder droid just goes ballistic, and the Vice Prex can't control him anymore. So he just starts doing everything. And this motherfucker's got lasers, he's got basically chainsaws, but he also has little missiles, and he unloads all of them. And because of that and him exploding and the fact that they're in a completely fully contained thing, like the pressure of it actually launches all of Star's End up into the fucking atmosphere and almost into space.
Yeah. So Star's End is the facility itself.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry.
So it's like this weird bouncing Betty situation where the gravity of the actual moon or the planet they're on is so low that as soon as this explosion happens, the entire facility lifts up in the air, and they all know once they hit the ground, it's over for everyone. So they only have the time that they're in the air to try to figure out a plan to get the fuck off this facility before shit hits the fan. And it gets crazy. So like you've got the remaining of the cat people working Atura and Paka trying to get back to the Falcon to get it to rescue everyone. And then simultaneously all of those frozen sperm tubes like unlock and all the prisoners are coming out of it. You've got the fucking vice president and Urashan like trying to beg Han Solo to help them get out. Meanwhile, you've got like this other second security force coming in to try to liberate the vice president and his bodyguard. It's this crazy situation of like who's on top and where's everyone going, and you don't know which areas are safe to go into, and you're trying to save everyone all at once, but shit is hitting the fan. It is the most intense like Star Wars story I've read since like Dark Troopers. I really felt like the panic of that situation when I was reading it, and just the high adventure and the fun of it. Because I knew Han Solo was going to get out of it. Of course, he's in Empire Strikes Back, so he makes it through. I just didn't know how it was going to happen, and I love like the reunion with him and Chewie, and then Han Solo ultimately like doing his best to save everyone else, all the other captives of this corporate sector authority through this like weird tube that ended up being latched onto the Millennium Falcon due to Paka's. I don't know, her plan or whatever. Very creative way of getting people out. And it was like,
yeah, that was the thing I didn't see coming. And it's like, how the fuck are they going to do it? Because it's just the Falcon and this tiny little, I guess, I don't know, transport.
Yeah.
And then just using that giant fucking tube and filling people up to the point where they're literally just falling in like water.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I mean, it's better to die getting liberated than to stay there forever, I guess.
Yeah. And I loved Hirkin begging. It was weird the way they described his wife.
That was fucking hilarious.
Just before I read this, it was after the Mandalorian season 3 finished.
Mm-hmm.
And they're saying that like this headline was something like Star Wars' problem with fat shaming. I didn't read it because it's a ridiculous headline that I don't want to get into.
Clickbait.
But as soon as I saw, like, read the description of Hirkin's wife, I was like, okay, maybe I should have read that article. Maybe they had a point.
I mean, this is a little bit different. This is a different era. I mean, it's still fucked up, but this is mid 70s. You can call a motherfucker fat, and you're not an asshole. You call somebody fat now, you're canceled.
Yeah. His wife was just this really rotund woman, which, hey, good on her. You know, she's living the high life. Why not just indulge? Mm-hmm. And he's like running away. He's like, look, Solo, just save me. I ditched my bodyguard and my wife. Just hook a brother up. Just let me go with you. And his wife's like, motherfucker, kabah!
Right, pops the motherfucker.
Right in the back of the head.
Oh, goddamn great.
It was so great just seeing like the dude get his just desserts from his own wife who he just tried to fuck. Right. And not in the good way.
Yeah, not in the good way.
It was the goddamn best.
Yeah, that guy was a piece of shit and he deserved it.
It's just so great because you have these independent characters who are creating their own demise. Independent of Han Solo and his desires, he doesn't have to kill people. He doesn't have to be that murderer that, you know, situationally you might say, well, maybe he is going to end up being that guy. But no, he lets reality play out as it's set up. And he's just sort of on the sideline like, whoa, 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 I choose life. I'm going to help my people. You do whatever the fuck it. Let this play out however you want to play it out. But I'm not going to help you. Like, you're on your own, man. You fucking made your bed. Now your wife's going to fuck you in it.
Right.
Right in the back of the head. It was so beautiful. And I loved how they set that up so that Han Solo's not a murderous gunslinging killer. Even though they did make a point, he shoots first. He's not going to fucking play games. I thought that was beautiful too, because it's a direct callback to him and Greedo in episode 1 or 4 in Star Wars. And like, it's this big sort of like hullabaloo amongst Star Wars fans and sort of, I don't know, tangential Star Wars fans about whether Han shot first or not.
Yeah, it's like there's
the
people that actually know what happened, and then there's the assholes that perpetuate the. It's like, no, Han Solo didn't shoot first. Han Solo shot. That was it. Period. Fuck. Yeah, this shit's right.
But it was just so great seeing that, and you know, just him being 100% Han, even though this is literally the second exposure anyone has ever had to Han. And I just love that the character has never changed, he's never deviated, he's always been the exact same thing the whole journey. And you know that Lucas had to give the okay for the story, so you know, he knew who Han was going to be and stuff. But it's just so beautiful to see. And so ultimately, everyone that was captured gets away. He goes back to Jenna where Doc is saved again. They repair his ship and they give him a bunch of extra like shit for his ship. And he ends up like hooking up with Jessa one last time, it seems like.
Yeah, well, I mean, so it ends with them being like, you know, he's like, fuck, I need to fix all this shit. And they're like, yeah, I mean, we can do that. But if you want extra shit, we got a job for you. Yeah. And he's like, yeah. Star White. Yeah, it totally sets all that shit up, and of course that's what's going to go into the next book.
Oh gosh, I loved it so much.
Fucking good, and it's so hard, so very hard not to just go right into the second book. Like for me, I finished it last night. I was falling asleep while I was reading it, but I had to finish it. And it's 2 a.m. when I'm done, and I'm like, oh my God, I could easily tear through another 2 chapters. No problem. I had to force myself to put the book down and go to bed.
Yeah, it was surprisingly good. I did not expect to enjoy it as much as I did, and I desperately enjoyed it. It was so much fun. Such a great ending. What was your favorite part of this novel?
Oh man, I mean, like I said, with Bullock's, like him rationalizing the odds of him dying,
Yeah.
but that being what's going to keep him alive. Like that's a perspective I have never come across in the entirety of all the Star Wars books that I've read.
Yeah.
So it was just such a great new perspective to look at.
Yeah, I think my favorite is Han, even knowing he's going to die if he does it, going after Chewbacca. Like that's his homie. Like
Yeah,
he's
that's a
gonna
fucking close second. Definitely.
He's gonna ride and die with fucking Wookiee, and I love that it took someone else knocking his ass out. Now I was a little bit bugged that he didn't step up to Reckon when he came to. Be like, what the fuck? You made fucking the Wookiee. You made Chewbacca die. It's your fault if he fucking dies. I'm gonna hold you accountable. Like I wanted that type of a scene.
Well, I mean, I kind of get it because he wasn't actually knocked out. He was paralyzed. So the whole time, like after he gets whapped in the back of the head, Reckon's like, look, man, this is why I'm doing this. We're gonna get him. This is just, we have to do it a certain way. Otherwise, we're all fucking dead. So the whole time he's waiting to get out of this little bit of temporary paralysis, Reckon is rationalizing with him, like, this is why we did it. We are going to get the Wookiee. Chill.
Yeah. And it does give us the inner monologue of Han Solo being like, yes, he was right. I was being rash. It was foolish. I would have died and it wouldn't have saved anyone. And so I get that side of it. It's just Han Solo always flies by the seat of his pants. And so I just would have liked to see a little bit more of that. But like him going after him and having to be knocked in the back of the head in order to not have it happen, I just thought that was beautiful. Like, yeah. Man, that's your homie. Like, do whatever you got to do for him. Did you have a least favorite part?
Not really that I could think of. Yeah, I mean, it was a really short book, so that was weird. But no, there wasn't anything that really threw me off. Like I just kind of bought all of it.
Yeah, I thought it was actually supposed to be longer than it actually was.
Yeah, so I of course don't have the book in here with me like I was planning. But like I have the trilogy. It's a Del Rey release. It's all 3 books in one. Yeah. And I mean, it's a pretty thick son of a bitch, but like this much of it is at Star's End. Yeah. And it's like, I was kind of tripping at first because I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to finish this? Because typically your standard Star Wars book is about 2 to 3 roughly, if not more. So for it to come in at 186 pages was pretty shocking.
Yeah, it was very, very short. My least favorite part, I think, was... Let me ask you your least favorite part.
Yeah.
Think about your least favorite part.
Yeah, I said I couldn't think of one.
Okay.
I mean, okay, if I had to pick a least favorite part, it's that it was so short.
Okay. I dig that. My least favorite part is actually also like a benefit. Like the very beginning of this book was the least interesting part of this book because Han Solo successfully completed a job.
That's
and fair. I was like, what the fuck? Like, this is not Han Solo that I know. What is this? He never finishes anything. Like, I was the whole time I was reading, I was like, okay, when does he dump his shipment so that he can later in Star Wars A New Hope be fucking busted on for having dropped his shipment and run when the Empire shows up? Like, that's what I was waiting for. I'm sure that comes in one of the novels, but I just thought, maybe it was going to be in this one, and it never happened. So I was like, yeah, all right, well, I guess he's a successful smuggler. Fucking fuck me, I guess.
Right.
I don't know. I wanted the bumbling Han Solo, and this is a very successful, lucky as shit Han Solo, not the goofy bumbling guy that we get later on. All right, so I mean, you'd recommend it to other people?
Yeah, 100%. Like this is, like, and especially like this would be a really good one if you want to get into Star Wars novels. Because of how short it is. Yeah. Like I read it, I think it was like a total of maybe 4 hours. Yeah. And that's me being stoned and fucking like, yeah, this book's good. Oh shit. It was like a 4-hour read. So it's very quick.
Yeah.
So it's a great way to get your feet wet to see if it's even something that would interest you. And if it doesn't interest you, why the fuck are you watching this show?
Good point. Yeah. I definitely recommend it. It's a lot of fun, and it's our first foray into Han Solo as a solo story because we never had that when this was released. And now I can't wait to read the other two that comprise the trilogy. So
Yeah.
I'm super excited. I have the Kindle version of the same book that you have, is all 3 books in one from Del Rey, and so I'm really looking forward to see where we go next.
Yeah.
And as far as the order of release goes, I think it's the first and maybe the second Han Solo novel, and then we get Empire Strikes Back, which was then released as the film and then the novelization of the film, and then we get the final one, I think. Before we start going to Lando Calrissian stories. So this is a really interesting era of Star Wars where you literally only had the first film, then Splinter of the Mind's Eye, and then 3 Han Solo books before you even get to Empire Strikes Back. And so this is a great moment of knowing what the focus was for Star Wars, and it's to tell these sort of isolated, single-off stories that feed into a greater theme that just introduce us to these characters that we were introduced to from the first film. And I love it. I love it 100%. It's great.
Hell yeah.
Much more than, I don't know, maybe 60% of the other novels I've read since in my entire Star Wars.
I agree, man. I agree. I would pick this over anything. I would say pretty much from Aftermath on. I mean, I liked some of them, especially the Phasma one, but
that was good.
Even then, it's like Phasma, that's if you want to experience what Star Wars would be like in the Mad Max universe.
100%.
But yeah, no, this is just perfection, and it's so much Star Wars that you just immediately like buy into it.
Yeah, it's that pulpy Star Wars that I just love so much. All right, is there anything else you wanted to cover with this thing?
No, I think we've got it.
Well,
I mean, I got some other notes, but it's all just dumb shit that I giggled about, so it doesn't matter.
I was a little bit bugged. Okay, hold on. I forgot about this. I just saw this on my notes. The Falcon has tractor beams. That threw me for a loop. When the fuck did the Falcon have tractor beams?
That's the first time I remember ever seeing it in any of the books.
Like, what the fuck? It was necessary for this story to play out the way it did. But like that was a thing only like Star Destroyers had, and that was a big deal when they got them.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I was just like, what the fuck? I don't know about this. This is some bullshit. Oh gosh, I got some other notes here too, but all right. Well,
I was like, you covered everything. Mine was just dumb shit about just jokes. So yeah, we got it. We got it.
Right. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in. Definitely read in general, but check out this Star Wars story because it was a really, really good one. Let us know what you thought of it. If you have read it or, when you've read it, come back to us and leave a comment below and let us know, did it land as well for you as it did for us? That'd be interesting to hear it. We invite you to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Click the bell to get notified about our next video. And until the Infernal Brotherhood convenes again, my fellow scruffy-looking Nerfers, may the Force be with you.
Who you calling scruffy looking? Motherfuckers.
Welcome. I feel like Chris Tucker.
Yeah, there you go. That's it again.